What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Hoops All In. As always, I'm your host, Worlds Francois, joined by my co-host Keith Bays. And Keith, man, what's going on? How you doing?
I'm good. We're finishing our top 10 at each position today, and some March Madness going on and more. So I'm good.
Yes,
How are you?
yes, sir. Yes, sir, man. Good as always. Surviving another day. If you guys are new, don't forget to check us out on social media at Hoops All In on Instagram, TikTok, and X. And don't forget to check out my man to the other screen, Keith's YouTube channel at Keith HAI. He does some great work on there. So don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment on his videos, keeping Hoops All In alive. So appreciate you, my man, for doing that.
Mhm.
But yeah, man, we are pretty much almost at the end of March Madness. The final four teams have been announced. All teams is Duke, Houston, along with Auburn and Florida. This is the second time in NCAA history where all four teams in each bracket were going to meet each other, coming out their own respective regions. Second time since 2008. So this is incredible, incredible. Keith, what are your thoughts on the tournament and now the final four teams remaining as we crown a new NCAA national champion come next weekend?
It's pretty exciting because it's like whenever you are starting off the year and you make a bracket, it's like when you get really down to the Elite Eight, Final Four, and even the last game. At least for me, like I get there and I'm like, oh man, I got like 3 out of 4 1 seeds in the final four. There's no way that's gonna happen. So like I gotta go back and pick upsets, or I gotta find
Mhm.
something where something interesting will happen. But nope, we got the four best teams in the for the 4 1 seeds. Duke will play Houston. And then Auburn plays Florida. Not until Saturday night, but it's been a good watch. I really haven't watched a lot of Houston. Um, I watched a lot of Duke, obviously. Um, I've watched a bunch of Florida games, and I've seen some Auburn games too. But Houston's really the one team I don't know too much about. So, but other than that, I mean, all these teams have five losses or less, and so I mean, it seems pretty well deserved. And I mean, who do you have winning the whole thing?
Me right now, I think Duke is going to win the whole thing. I got to
Yeah,
go with the Blue Devils. They've just been dominant, especially as we all know. Cooper Flag is the
yeah,
best player in the entire country. He's leading Duke in every statistical category from
yeah,
points, rebounds, to assists, steals. It's unbelievable. This
yeah.
guy is going to be the number one pick in the 2025 NBA draft. But also, too, they all got guards like Con Knipple. I like Proctor, Isaiah Evans. They got that center, I believe, is Mulach. So
I'll watch. Yeah.
Malach, yeah. So they're a really, really great offensive five-power team. And
Hmm.
they had just breezed through the tournament. I don't think they
Yeah.
had any type of resistance. I was
Hmm.
surprised at how badly they beat Alabama. It was a 20-point
Yeah.
blowout. And Alabama's a really good team.
Mhm.
Obviously, what they did with Arizona, scoring 100 points.
Yeah.
Again, blowing out Baylor, blowing out St. Mary's. So this team right here, they have everything. I don't really see a weakness. Obviously, there was question marks to see if Cooper Flag was going to miss any significant time with the NCAA tournament, as he, had injured his ankle, but he
Hmm.
seems he was ready to go. Again, that team is just clicking on all cylinders. And shout out to their head coach, man. I think Duke is gonna win it all. Now, again, they're gonna be battle tested against Houston because Houston is a very defensive minded team. They make the game ugly, half court pressure, full court pressure, 2-3 zone defense. Kevin Sampson is a defensive minded coach. If you don't play defense, he's going to sit your ass on the bench. But I think that
Hmm.
Duke's offensive firepower is just going to be too much for them to overcome. And I got Duke cutting down the nets. I think it's going to be a Duke versus Florida final matchup for the championship. And I think Duke is going to eventually be the ones holding that trophy at the end of the night. That's my
Yeah.
prediction.
Yeah. My brackets that I made originally had
Mhm.
Auburn winning, but it'd be a fool to not pick Duke. And even if it's not Duke, I still think Florida would be my second option there. But yeah, like you said, they've been running through everything. Duke and Houston, I just saw they have both led for less than, or they have both trailed for less than 8 minutes this entire tournament. So
Unbelievable.
I think Houston was like 7.5 minutes, and I think Duke was just under 6 minutes. So
Sheesh.
they're just it's just been dominant for them. Like Malawach, I think might be my favorite prospect going into the draft this year. I'm a big fan of big men that play like him that are, they're good rebounders, good like just your traditional center, and he can move pretty decently for being 7'2". So um he's been probably my favorite prospect to watch. But what's the guard from Florida too has hit some big shots. Walter Clayton. I mean, he's one of those guys I think who's risen his stock from the since before the tournament at versus, through this entire tournament. He's hit some big shots throughout the past couple games. So
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. I think it's gonna be a Duke Florida a Duke and Florida national championship game. And I have Duke winning it all.
Yeah, and again, the Duke's head coach John Shire, he
Mhm,
has some big shoes to fill, replacing a legendary coach
mhm.
like Coach K, who won 5 national championships for that school, countless Finals Four, countless national championship game appearances, and to do what he did in his second year coaching the program is unbelievable. Obviously, again, first year, a little bit of turmoil. Obviously, Duke is still Duke. That's the brand. But when you have a new coach in that spotlight, a lot of five-star crews like, well, it's not Coach K, it's not the star power, it's not the
Yeah.
appeal, but he's showing us like, hey, you come here, it's still the brand, it's still Duke, it's just a different name, and Duke is back where they, where they belong in familiar places. Going to be the last 4 teams playing for a national championship. So, man, shout out to the Duke Blue Devils.
Yeah. Um, Next, we saw some pretty surprising news, especially for me. We saw the Memphis Grizzlies head coach Taylor Jenkins got fired, and at the time they had 9 games left in their season. And again, as of today, with which these games haven't finished yet, they're currently playing Boston right now. Memphis is the 5th seed. Um, and that again, as of today, that doesn't mean too much because the middle of the West is so jam packed that they were sitting at 2 for a while. They've slid down to 3, 4. Now they're sitting at 5. They could easily slide into 6 or maybe even the play in as the Warriors and Timberwolves are a game behind them. But um, what do you think about firing Taylor Jenkins, who had the best winning percentage of any coach that has coached for the Memphis Grizzlies?
It is a little bit of surprise and shock knowing that, as you mentioned, there's only 9 games left into the season. If you were gonna fire him, you should have done it in the postseason. But you fire it as your team is in the middle of the pack of the playoff contention. As you mentioned, the Memphis Grizzlies are currently sitting fifth in that guttered Western Conference. Well, now you have players have to adjust to a whole new offense, a whole new voice in the locker room. It doesn't make any sense, and I don't know why. Like again, Memphis, you could say, well, they're 4-6 in their last 10 games. Ugly loss against the Thunder. Bad loss against the Clippers and Trailblazers and the Kings. Okay, I get it. But again, John Morant hasn't been healthy throughout this whole season. You had to allow Triple J, who's been your best player. Desmond Bane has been up and down. You look at the Memphis Grizzlies roster, it doesn't scream championships. Now, if this team was a championship contending team and they weren't riddled with injuries, and you make this decision if they just weren't playing well, then I get it. But when you make a drastic decision like that with only 9 games, a handful of games left into the season when your team is still fighting to solidify a playoff spot, it makes absolutely no sense to me. I don't know what the hell the Memphis Grizzlies, owners and the GM is thinking. I'm shocked. I don't know if Taylor Jenkins requested to be out, because it
Mhm.
doesn't make any sense. Again, this is just one of those moves that leaves your head scratching, like what is going on in the front office? Was it that him and John Moran have some sort of disgruntled relationship that we didn't know about? So many question marks.
Yeah, so I don't I don't think this is the whole reason, but it did come out a little bit after that John Morant did not like the new offense, I guess. John Morant
I
hasn't
did saw
been
that, yeah.
hasn't been implemented, I guess, as much as he wants. And even though to me John Morant is the face of the Grizzlies, but I think we all can agree here when we say that Jaren has been the best player this season. And again, like you said, Ja has been hurt. Going in and out. Desmond Bane hasn't, had his top peak scoring years like he had the past couple. But Yeah, I honestly, when I saw this, I'm like, there had to have been
Mm.
like there has to be something like a scandal. You don't want to put that on
Yeah.
anybody's name, but like there has to be like something that might come out later on that maybe he would have gotten in trouble for, or something, I don't know. And with the I don't think it would be him just resigning, because I think it would have said like a resigned or has opted to leave the team. It legitimately said the Grizzlies have fired coach Taylor Jenkins. So I something must have happened. Again, if it does come down to being just the offense thing, I think that's a little crazy, again, as a team that, like, sure, we don't have them as a true contender in the West, but I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they made a pretty deep run to, like, the conference finals or something, just because they're a relatively deep team. We did see Brandon Clark is out for the year. That was a little bit more of recent news. Again, it's not like he's one of their top players, but they've been they've been pretty healthy as of late. And I mean, again, I would say they're relatively deep. They've got Zach Edey, they got Jalen Wells, who's cooled off a little bit, but they've got players, and I wouldn't be surprised if they did beat their first round or maybe even a second round matchup. So, and again, like I said, Taylor Jenkins has the best winning percentage of any coach that's coached for the Grizzlies. And I mean, he's been there for, I think it was about I think he's been here since 2020. So
Mhm.
it's just surprising, especially when that means you're pretty much having an interim head coach for the playoffs.
Yeah. And
And again,
again, yeah.
yes.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
And I'm sure that guy, maybe they were comfortable enough, because again, it's, right, it's just going to be the assistant head coach. Um, and maybe they felt comfortable enough to make this move because the assistant coach knows, what's going on. He knows some of their offensive patterns, and they just felt comfortable having him as the head guy, and maybe they'll take the interim off his name next season. But it's just surprising doing that as a team that, I mean, the Grizzlies have been good. Again, they haven't looked as great as of, the All-Star break, but they've been a good team all year. So
And that's the thing that I'm a little confused by. I think NBA Central or Legion Hoops reported that. But if it was true that John Morant, was really concerned and frustrated with Taylor Jenkins' new offense, and they just hired within from the interim coach who's gonna coach for the rest of the year, that coach is still gonna teach the same philosophy that Taylor
right.
Jenkins had. So it's not like you hire interim coaches are gonna teach a brand new offense, a brand new philosophy, brand new schemes. He's still going to teach the same thing that your star player, your face of franchise,
Mhm.
had issues with. So I just don't get the firing. If you want to tell them to go for whatever reason, you do in the offseason. But I got to go to your point. Maybe, like you said, there was a scandal brewing. There was something he probably did that is eventually going to come out. That's going to get leaked to reporters. Maybe Shams is going to come out and report it. Who knows? But
Mhm.
when you make a move like this, when your team is literally fifth in a Western Conference, still fighting to solidify a playoff spot. It's not like, again, they're 12th or 14th and they're not
Mhm.
have no chance of making the playoffs. This team is fifth. They could make, like you mentioned, a pretty solid playoff run. They could be an Western Conference semifinals bound team. But again, I just don't get it. I don't understand. I feel like lately these owners and these GMs have been having such incredible impatience with their coaches, especially to a coach who has gotten you. Again, you mentioned Jenkins is the winningest franchise coach, winningest coach in Memphis Grizzlies franchise history. Like, again, I get it. He doesn't have any NBA Finals appearances, but
Mhm.
you also haven't put a competent roster around him, and yet injuries have plagued the Memphis Grizzlies. So yeah, I'm just really confused. I don't know what's going on, but maybe we'll hear down the line he was
Mhm.
involved with some type of scandal, and
Yeah.
maybe the reports are true that John Morant had a hand in him getting fired. We're just on the outside looking in. But for us as basketball, fans and opinionists and analysts, we just don't get it. Like, we don't.
Yeah, and I haven't understood some of the, like, even over like the years, like just the head coach firings just kind of out of nowhere. Like, it makes sense for teams that maybe had low expectations, and like, but like the Adrian Griffin firing from the Bucks, and then bringing
Yeah.
in Doc Rivers when they were the one seed, and
Hmm.
they were playing good, and then Doc Rivers came in, and they haven't really looked as, they haven't looked the same because Doc Rivers plays differently. But yeah, and again, like what you said with the assistant, like whoever will be the interim head coach, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Taylor Jenkins or whoever the head coach of any team has a hand in picking who his like coaching staff is. So
Yeah,
like
does,
again,
yeah.
like you said, they're gonna be similar styles. Maybe, this interim will have, will see this if again the John Morant offense thing is true and maybe implement John more like he is their face of the franchise. But again, it's not going to change too much, especially when what you've been doing all year has gotten you to be, I mean, probably a top 6 seed. So,
Yeah,
and this close to playoff time. So,
yeah,
yeah, it's just again a surprising firing to me, and I wonder what will come out about it later on, if anything. Um,
yeah.
Next, we'll talk about KD last night went down with an ankle injury versus the Houston Rockets. They were getting blown out. They ended up losing by 39 to Houston, but it came out that he's going to be out for at least a week. And with the Phoenix Suns' current position, they are the 11th seed.
Mm.
And that means that they are not in the play-in, and you take away their best player, that slims their odds even more to be in a play-in team. And
Yeah.
I if this last year, like, because we all I think agree that this is Kevin Durant's last year. If this last year ends with them missing the play-in, you might have to scrap everything. That you
Yeah.
can. Again, Bradley Beal probably can't, but other than that, you might have to go full on,
Rebuild.
scrapping everything. So, what do you think about Kevin Durant's time with the Suns and what what this means for the rest of this core if they miss the play?
Yeah, obviously, again, Kevin Durant's out with the Suns. It's not his fault. This man has been playing great basketball, averaging almost 27 points a game, 6 rebounds, 6 assists,
Mhm,
shooting almost 53% from the field. But for some reason, ever since Kevin Durant left the Golden State Warriors, he has not found an inch of success. We saw the catastrophe we have with the Brooklyn Nets. We see
mhm,
what's happening with a catastrophe with the Phoenix Suns. You just mentioned this team is 11th in the Western Conference, 35 and 40, 5 and 5 in the last 10 games. What the hell is going on with this roster? Again, the new Suns owner, Matt Ishbia, thought that this was you could just build a championship roster like 2K. You could just put three
mhm,
ball dominant players together and they'll figure it out. It doesn't work like that. I don't know why the hell they fired Frank Vogel, who was a great coach, and they
mhm,
brought in Mike Budenholzer, who's we've been hearing rumors and reports that he's going to get fired at the end of the season because him, Kevin Durant, and Devin Booker have butted heads with the head coach. So
mhm,
clearly the coach has lost the locker room. When you're butting heads with your two best players of the team, your ass going to get gone. And now we're just like they're stuck. They have all this money. They're probably what top 5, top 10 and salary cap spending when you have three
mhm,
players making max money. It doesn't make sense. Obviously, again, the Phoenix Suns do not want to trade Kevin Durant. They know what type of player Kevin Durant is, but because of Bradley Beal refusing to waive his no trade clause, which is well within his right, because his whoever his agent is was smart enough to put that in his contract, and whatever, I don't know what the hell the Washington Wizards were smoking or drinking, allowed him to do that. There's only like 5 players who should have no trade clause, and no
yeah,
offense to Bradley Beal, he's not one of them. He's a great player, but he's not a superstar player. But
right.
the fact that the Washington Wizards gave him that, literally, he can decide wherever he wants to go. And if you're the Phoenix Suns, well, you're like, we can't trade this dude because he's just going to decline every single trade. You just might have to look to just waive him, release him, and then just eat the money.
Yeah,
Cut him. Waive him, buy him out. Hey, Bradley Beal will give you all your money. Just get off this team because again, this is I believe what his second lowest points per game since his rookie season. It has not worked. It is just unfortunately it has not worked. You do not spend that much money when you have three guys making over $200 million for the next 2, 3, 4 years of their contract to be sitting 11th in the Western Conference. And unfortunately, it hasn't worked. I don't know where the Suns are going to try to trade Kevin Durant. I know he wants to go to a championship contending team, but what team would fit him? Does he go back to Golden State? Does Dallas Mavericks be interesting, especially what's going on there with Kyrie out with a torn ACL? We don't know what's going on with Anthony Davis, especially that whole Luca thing. What other team can use Kevin Durant's services? It's just horrible. And again, we don't say Kevin Durant doesn't deserve this, but he kind of did this himself. He wanted to leave Golden State and win championships. He felt like it wasn't validation for him, despite what the media was saying. Ever since he left, man, Steph Curry, it has just been train wreck after train wreck after train wreck. But yeah, I think, like you said, I think the Suns have to have a serious sit down conversation. They know they're gonna trade Kevin Durant. They're gonna want to send him to a championship contending team because he has done right by them. He's been a total professional on his end. But the Bradley Beal is the biggest question mark. What do you do with the guy who has a no trade clause and you literally are at the mercy of his feet? You're gonna have to eat that cap, and then now you're looking at Devin Booker's like, okay, we're gonna trade Kevin Durant. You're not gonna get the same equal value for Kevin Durant when you gave him waive. You're gonna have to waive Bradley Beal. You're looking at their roster. Who's left? Who's left that you could tell Devin Booker, who's what 28, 29 in prime his career, hey, we can still contend for championship. It's just he's eventually gonna want out. So it's a shit show in Phoenix. It literally is a shit show.
Yeah, in Kevin Durant's time here, which pretty much is started in 22-23, which again, I'm not gonna put too much weight on him because again, he was acquired at the trade deadline of that season. So a lot of that season he wasn't responsible for. But I mean, that year that he did get there, they were 45-37, and they lost in the conference semifinals. And they're and then
they got swept too. Yeah.
And then which was last year, they were 49-33, which almost a 50-win team, but they lost in the first round, and I believe they got swept by the Timberwolves, I believe.
Yeah.
Which again, the Timberwolves might have been the higher seed, I'm not sure, but if they were, it was just barely, and I think the Phoenix Suns were probably the favorites at the time. And then, this year they might miss it completely. But the thing that you point out too, which you kind of mentioned, they've had 3 different head coaches in those 3 years. They had Monty Williams that first year, Frank Vogel last year, Budenholzer this year. And it just when you're switching head coaches that much for a team that wants to, make something of these guys, of a team that, had championship aspirations, it's just not a great start. I do think Kevin Durant, like I'm sure like 27 out of the other 29 teams in the league would love to have Kevin Durant, but his contract is he's going to be making almost $55 million next year. And if you look at a team like the examples I used in my video was like, sure, OKC has been a rumor for that, but they got to re-sign J-Dub and Chet. Shea's already making max money, and then they're a pretty deep team, but they've got young guys that they need to be paid, obviously not max money, but like they'll need to be paid at some point, whether it's like Case and Wallace, Aaron Wiggins. I mean, Hartenstein is making 30 mil this year too. So like I think that would put them in a hole to where they would have to lose one of J-Dub or Chet if they did do that.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's a good idea. I think Houston could do it because Houston needs that tier 1, guy that they can defer to in like playoffs or big time situations. But to me, if you're making a trade with Houston, you're not doing it for a complete rebuild, because Houston could give picks for sure, but if Houston's making a trade like that, they're probably trading away like a Jabari Smith, like maybe a Jalen Green or something. And if you're getting that tier, like high tier of a young player that's still good, you're not going to get like the 4 first-round picks that maybe you should for a Kevin Durant. So, but then again, if you're trading Durant and you've got Beal, who again, Beal's a good player, but his contract doesn't match his value that he's putting on the court. So that kind of just overshadows everything he does, whether it's good or bad. It's like you said, this team is kind of just thrown together. It has no structure. I mean, hell, their best defensive player is like Ryan Dunn, who was like the 25th pick this year in the draft. And to have all that be thrown on a young rookie is not great. And I mean, they got Nick Richards, who does some of the dirty work stuff, which I've enjoyed him being there. But again, Nick Richards is not it's not a floor raising or ceiling raising type of acquiring. So, but then again, like if you are doing this hard reset, are they really going to trade Devin Booker? Devin Booker is probably one of the 3 best Phoenix Suns in their history already.
Yeah.
And it almost seems like Devin Booker is a guy that would want to be in Phoenix his whole career. But if you're telling him, yeah, we're trading away Kevin Durant, but you're getting pieces or you're just getting picks, you're going to tell him, oh, yeah, we're going to need to take a step back again for 2 or 3 years to potentially be able to rebuild. And that still doesn't even guarantee that they will be a contender again with however they do rebuild, because they don't have picks. Again, they'll get picks if they do a Durant trade, but they won't be their own picks most likely unless they're trading with Houston. So
Yeah.
I don't know. They're in a hole, and I think we're watching the end of. I mean, I for sure think we've watched the end of Kevin Durant again, unless they make it, they sneak into the play-in and somehow get out of those 2 play-in games to get a playoff series. I think we just watched Kevin Durant's last game as a Phoenix Sun be a 40-point blowout.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it said like there's no point. He's gonna be out for a week. There's no point in him playing. Just shut it down, and then you gotta have some tough conversations and some planning, come the off season. But you mentioned the Houston Rockets. From the Houston Rockets, why would I give up any players in my young core for a 36, 37-year-old? Again, Kevin Durant is Kevin Durant. He's one of the all-time great players, but he's making what 50 something million
55
dollars. So
here.
you have Jalen Green again, Alperen Şengün, Amen Thompson. All these guys are under 25 years old, and you got vets like Dylan Brooks, Steven Adams. Also, you got the young gun Jabari Smith. If I'm the Houston Rockets, who are right now, as we stand, who are a top 4 team in the Western Conference, 49-26. Nobody's talked about this, but the Houston Rockets, yes, I mentioned that they're probably a year or 2 away from a championship contending team, but look at what Ime Udoka has done with this roster. They're currently 2nd in the West. They're 9-1 in their last 10 games. They don't really need Kevin Durant. If you say, hey, KD, they want to trade for KD, but they're not going to want to give up a lot of pieces. Maybe again, they'll give up draft picks because at this point in time, they're like, look, they're ahead of schedule after them picks, but the Suns are gonna be like, hey, we want some quality players right now. We don't want to wait for some college kid or some kid in high school 2-3 years away. And if you're Houston, it's like, we're not gonna trade. They're not trading Jalen Green. They're definitely damn sure not trading Alperen Şengün, not trading Ahmed Thompson, who's gonna become a triple double machine. Jabari Smith again. He was in top 2 pick a couple years ago. So
Yeah.
is Fran Vliet gonna move the needle? Is Dylan Brooks gonna move the needle for
He's
KD?
a free
No.
agent, so
So I just I don't know.
yeah.
Again,
But
OKC or the Thunder, they don't need him. They finished number 1 in the Western Conference the last 2 years. He had a chance to go back to Golden State. He said no to that. What other team could use him? Maybe, if him and pair with LeBron James and LeBron and KD playing together, their swan song in the end of the year, another career could be good. But the Lakers don't have anybody that they could trade to entice the Phoenix Suns. Does he go out back out east, and I don't know, does he probably join the Brooklyn Nets again? Because he did love his time in Brooklyn. It's just a whole bunch of drama off the field, off the
the
court.
only East team that I think he could would be a good fit, and I think would be able to do that, would be Detroit. Detroit. I mean, are they the 6th seed still? They're the 5th seed. So, and they even though they upgraded their floor spacing this year, their floor spacing still isn't great, and I think they do have some things that they could give up if they do want to try and do that. Again, it's not going to be you're trading Kevin Durant, you're not going to get anything better than Kevin Durant or anything even close to Kevin Durant. So, but I think going back to Houston, I think that even though, yeah, they're the 2 seed right now, I think that's because of the overwhelming, like just their overall talent as a team. I don't think that you can't say that the Phoenix or not the Phoenix Suns, the Houston Rockets are the second seed because of Jalen Green or because of Alperen Sengun. I think, and even when you go there, like I love Jalen Green, but I don't think Jalen Green is going to be a long-term piece in this core of guys. I think Houston is due to make a big time move so they can get a tier 1 guy or even a tier 2 guy that can be their tier 1. So they can have, like a Kevin Durant. I think even Devin Booker would be great, but also it does matter what you give up because, like you said, I don't think this year they have to do anything with any of their young guys with contract wise, but right, they have Amen Thompson. They did sign Jalen Green and Sengun to not max contracts, but near max contracts so that they could still be potentially moved. But again, they got to re-sign Amen at some point. They got to re-sign Jabari. They got Tari Eason, who's going to get money based on how he plays, and he can be a fit anywhere. They just drafted Reed Shepard, who, again, he hasn't got much burn this year, but he will at some point. And I'm sure there's another young guy in there that I'm forgetting about. But I think that Houston needs to look at a guy like, even though the only thing that does scare me about giving up, like if you were to give up maybe a Jabari Smith, who I think Houston has fallen out of love with, even though I think Jabari Smith is good. He's a good defender. He can be a stretch like 4 if you need, but I think they are falling out of love with him with this surgence of what Amen Thompson has brought. And they kind of are like yesterday they started Fred VanVleet, Jalen Green, Amen Thompson, Dylan Brooks, and Sengun. And Jabari Smith was healthy, but they had him come off the bench. And that, that's not a thing that he was always doing. He played 26 minutes, but again, that was a blowout. But I think one of Jabari or Tari Eason definitely has to go soon, and I don't think that they're giving up Tari Eason. I think they like Tari Eason more than they do Jabari at this point, even though Jabari Smith was their 3rd overall pick just 3 years ago. So,
Well, yeah, I mean, well, going back to your point about them, possibly with the Jalen Green, I don't think they're gonna move Jalen Green, especially he just signed like what a 3-year, $106 million extension, and look at his stats for his last 3 games. You talk about against the Phoenix Suns, 32, Utah 21, 32, 30. This guy's giving you almost 22 points a game, and again, he's still 23, still somewhat raw, even though this is 30 in the league. So he's not even scratched his ceiling yet. Maybe Jabari Smith again is a possibility, as you mentioned. Last couple of games, 10 points, 11 points, 17 points. Even though he's not known as an offensive firepower, he's there, for defense, blocking shots, setting screen. Alperen Sengun is obviously the number 1 option. Jalen Green is like number 2, and Amen Thompson number 3. So maybe you could package a Jabari Smith with somebody else and a couple draft picks. But again, if you're like a team like the Phoenix Suns, is that going to move the needle when you trade away Kevin Durant? Now, we always say when you're not going to get equal compensation for a guy who's a career 27, 28 points per game scorer, but you're giving up a guy, you just like Jabari Smith, the guy's giving you under 13.5 points a game, not even averaging double-digit rebounds, and he's what, 6'10", 6'11"? Him, but you got to have what else? Now, if it's him and maybe Amen Thompson, oh yeah, now we talking. But Rockets, now we're not giving up this dude. Have you seen what he's been doing lately? We're not giving up Alperen Sengun. He's arguably face of franchise. We're not giving up Jalen Green. He's our second best player. So it's I don't know. It's just tough, man. It's just tough seeing a great player like that bouncing around from team to team. I don't feel like it ruins your legacy, but it kind of puts a dent in your legacy because as we look back 20, 30 years from now, we look at, type in Kevin Durant, we look at his Wikipedia stats or his basketball reference page. We're going to think and be like, why did this guy go on 5 different teams in pretty much 5, 6 different years? Was he the problem? What's going on?
see,
I just don't get it.
Legacy thing would matter to me more if it was him being legitimately traded or like getting rid of. He left each stop on his own, like because he wanted to. He left OKC because we just got beat by Golden State. I want to go get some rings, so I went to Golden State. Golden State, they ended kind of bad. You had Draymond Green and everything there. They lost to Toronto, he just tore his Achilles. Klay Thompson just tore his ACL. He left. He wanted to go to Brooklyn to play with Kyrie Irving. That, it had promise, Brooklyn, but injuries, the bubble stuff kind of just limited them and took that out. And he was like, I love my time in Brooklyn, but I got to go somewhere else. He went he went to Phoenix. And I think Phoenix has before I say that, I think Kevin Durant thrives in where he has structure, a structured team, and not just thrown together, like you said, with the Sun, how the Suns kind of are. I think, like in Oklahoma City, there was structure. They made a finals appearance pretty early on, but they when made the conference finals. They were a great team. He went to Golden State, who obviously had structure. They had a guy who just won Defensive Player of the Year not too long ago. They probably had another top 3 shooter of all time in Klay Thompson. They had the unanimous MVP, Steph Curry. There was great structure there, and he thrived. He was the Finals MVP 2 years in a row, and then he went to Brooklyn, where there was there was structure there. He had his co-star in Kyrie. He had Harden for like half of 1 year, and then the second half of the next year, and they had the series with Milwaukee, where if Kevin Durant wore the right size shoe, they would have probably beaten them in that series. So, and then he went to Phoenix, where Phoenix has no structure. It's Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Durant, who are 3 guys who all like to do the same thing. I want the ball and I want to create for myself. And I think that him having no structure is really the downfall. I really think that this time of him being a Sun has been a waste for his career.
Waste the last 2 years. But again, that goes to KD's fault, because he was in 2 places in the beginning of his career that had structure and left for places that didn't really have no structure. Again, he tried to build something good in Brooklyn with Kyrie and James Harden, and that was just a disaster. And again, he personally requested to go to the Suns. He got traded, and that's also been a disaster. I just don't know. It's like, again, 36 approaching 37. Where do you put a guy that's going to be on his 5th team? Is like what, last 7-8 years? I believe he got in his head. He let the media get in his head and say, well, Kevin Durant, you gotta be the bus driver. You gotta be the man on the championship team, because you won't be considered one of the greatest players of all time. When he was a back-to-back finals MVP, and he was the reason why they beat the Cleveland Cavaliers back-to-back finals. And he's like, you know what? For some reason, he wasn't happy in Golden State, wasn't happy of winning championships. I believe the media got into his head, hey, you gotta go on your own teams, and he did that, and it just hasn't worked. But yeah, we just agree, man. His time with the Suns wasted 2 years. Matt Ishbia, this is not 2K. You can't just throw random players together, especially 3 ball down players together, and think that it's gonna work. It doesn't work that way. It really doesn't. Especially, like you mentioned too, 3 head coaches in 3 different years. You have a different voice in the locker room every single year, so it's hard for players to adjust and gel together. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, it's just a shame, because again, I've been an advocate for Kevin Durant. I mean, sure, literally nobody liked him when he went to the Warriors, unless you were a Warriors fan. But I think Durant just, again, I do think he is a 1A. I mean, again, on those Golden State teams, he was 1A. He won the Finals MVPs. It was one of the very few times in NBA history where you had literally 2 1As, right, between Curry and Durant. But to me, Durant was the best player on those teams the 3 years that he was there.
Yep.
Even though they didn't win that 3rd year. But it just, again, I think when he's had structure to a team, he has good pieces around him. They've been pretty successful. I think OKC, Golden State, Brooklyn were all good stops for him. But again, going to the Suns kind of just overshadows that, because it's the most recent thing that's happened, and it's how a lot of people that maybe just haven't been watching basketball for as long, this is what they see, So I don't know. Again, hopefully Durant gets himself in a good situation next year, and hopefully he's not a Phoenix Sun next year. But
yeah, agree.
Now we're gonna do this, where I'm gonna ask you about certain players that adding a ring. This isn't talking about necessarily this year winning, because some of these players are on teams that have already been eliminated from the playoffs or will be, but like adding a ring in this player's career, however long that might be, what will it do to their name? Some people, it might be their first ring, and some people, it might be just another ring added onto the pile. So, first we'll do with, um, actually, we'll go within the next, because some of these guys are young. So we'll say if they're young, we'll say within the next 2 to 3 seasons. So if
Okay.
Wemby wins a ring in the next 2 to 3 seasons, what kind of where does that push him into the top? Because I think he's been a top 10 player before he got hurt, but where does that place him in the top 10? And how many more rings do you think he can get if he gets one this early?
If he gets one by like age 23, I think he'd be on track to be one of the greatest, to be on track to be the greatest San Antonio Spur along with Tim Duncan. Now, again, he'll have to get at least 4 or 5
Whoa.
rings. He'll
Yeah,
have to get at least 4 or 5 rings. But
yeah.
if he got one at what, 23 years old,
Mhm,
he could play until he's what, 35, 36, takes care of his body,
mhm.
stays healthy. Because when did Tim Duncan win his first championship? Like what, 21, 22? His first year in the league,
I
actually.
think he was pretty young, yeah, let's
Yeah,
see.
bro, his first, second year, because remember they drafted Tim Duncan, and it was David Robinson's like one of his last few years
Yeah,
with the Spurs,
let's
or it was like second year, something
um,
like that.
it was the 1999 season, which I believe Tim Duncan was drafted in he was drafted in 1997, so in his
Okay,
second
so
year.
second year. So yeah, he was like what, and I believe he did what, 3 or 4 years in college. So he's arguably what, 20, 21, 22 around that age, give or take, early 20s.
I'm not sure how long he played in college. Let's see, hold on. He was a 4-year college player, although he was 17 in his freshman year, and he was only 20 in his senior year. So, yeah, I guess he
Damn.
actually wasn't on the older side. So,
Yeah. So
but
yeah, he
still, yeah, second year, it's
So
something
like,
that not a lot of people
21,
do.
20. So like 21, 22. Wemby's 20 right
Mhm,
now. Next 2, 3 years will make him 22, 23. So yeah, the same, time frame age when Tim Duncan won his championships, and then he won again 03, 05, 07, and 14. So he won
mhm,
one, if he wins one the next, 2 years, he'll be on track to be the best San Antonio Spurs, pairing him alongside with Tim Duncan. But again, he'll have to continue to win. I think he needs to win at least 4 to be in that conversation. If he
yeah,
wins 4, and we're all speculating he's going to be a better player than Duncan. Obviously, it's early, but we're just speculating.
mhm,
Then I think him winning 4 championships, that'll make him the greatest championship, but greatest Spur. But one in the next 2, 3 years, that'll make him definitely a top 5 player in the game, arguably top 3, and
mhm.
then maybe I say top 80 of all time.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that's a pretty damn good spot to be in. You're like fourth season, maybe. So, what about his teammate, Chris Paul?
Oh,
What if Chris Paul gets a ring? Does that put him? I don't know where you have Chris Paul in your top point guards of all time, but does that 100% cement him as a top 5 point guard?
I think he's already a top 5 point guard, but if he
Okay.
does win a championship, he'll probably top 3, because that's the only thing that's missing from his legacy.
Mhm,
What hasn't this guy accomplished, especially to longevity? He's played for what, 22, something like that, 22, 21, 22 years. Yeah, 21 years, because LeBron's a year 22, but he came the draft class after LeBron. So
mhm,
21 years. He's a career 17 points per game, career 9 assists, and he's in arguably top 5 in assists in all-time assists. And this man, again, he's the reason why he's called the point guard. So I think a
mhm.
ring will legitimize and have Chris Paul top 3 point guards of all time. It'll be Magic, it'll be Steph too, and then I'll probably put him above Isaiah, even though Isaiah has 2 championships. But you look at the overall career accolades, Chris Paul has accomplished more individually than
Mhm.
Isaiah Thomas. So I'll
Yeah,
put CP3 at,
yeah.
at, at
I
there.
think as of now, he's like he's anywhere for me from point guards. He's like 5 through like 7, but I think a ring would definitely cement him as top 5 for sure. Because you also got to think about guys like I think he would probably pass up Stockton because Stockton doesn't have a ring either.
Mm-hmm.
If he hasn't already again. But to me, I think the third best point guard of all time to me, which I think he might have trouble passing up from just for me is Oscar Robertson.
Mm.
Um, Oscar Robertson's only a one-time champ as well, a one-time MVP, 11-time All NBA. So he very well could be or already is, but I think it would definitely have him no lower than 5. Um, uh, what what if we'll go with both the Dallas guys, Kyrie and AD? What does it do for them? Does it
Ooh.
both make them? Does it make them both a top 10 in their position of all time?
80 already has one. Him winning a
Mhm.
second ring with a different team, I think that'll make him a top 10 power forward of all time because
I think he might already be maybe a top 10
yeah.
power forward of all time
You know
or
what it is?
close.
Yeah, I would say that probably he'll go into maybe like top 5 because what Anthony Davis is. I mean, what this dude is won a national championship in college.
Mhm,
He's won an NBA title. I think he's one of the rare few players in that list to win a national championship and NBA title.
mhm,
25 points per game this year with the Lakers in Dallas and almost 12 rebounds. Obviously, again, he has been injury prone, but if he wins Finals MVP, obviously top 5 power forward because that's the only thing that's really missing on his resume. But yeah,
okay,
another championship with a different team. I say top 5 power forward. Yeah, because his numbers has always been dominant. He's always been
yeah, yeah, for sure.
in the top 10 player category of all time. So yeah, another championship will make him top 5 power forward of all time. I agree. And then for Kyrie Irving, yeah, I think Kyrie Irving that'll be also his second championship.
Mhm,
Kyrie what career 25 points per game scorer and arguably the best handles in the league. Yeah, I think Kyrie Irving would move top 10 as well. Now, again, if he's the reason why they win, obviously Luka's not there anymore. If he gets Finals MVP, that's also the only thing that's missing from his resume. Oh yeah, I think top 10 arguably because he has everything else. He's an All-Star game MVP,
mhm,
Olympic gold medal winner, or I believe FIBA gold medal winner.
mhm.
He won a 3-point contest shootout. He's as skilled as they come. So yeah.
Let me add a secondary question to that then. Does Kyrie Irving, if they win and AD is the finals MVP, which I think he would be if they did get to that point and it was just them two as the top two guys, would Kyrie be a top five like Robin of all time?
Oh, yeah, I would say so because it mainly is that game winning basket he hit in the 2016 final series against Golden State. Like like LeBron simply said, no, give the ball to Kyrie. And
Mhm,
again, you see Kyrie, I would say so because was the reason why was a major reason why Cavs won coming back down from
mhm.
3-0. And I believe him and LeBron both had like 40 points in like game 5 or something like that, which was
Yeah.
crazy. They pretty much scored 90% of the Cavs offense. So I would say so. Now, if you want to say, hey, well, look what he did with the Boston and Brooklyn. Yeah,
Yeah.
but in terms of robbing him being a secondary option, I would say so because
Because I
again,
think
second
some of the
championship.
best Robins of all time, right? Like Pippen, um, Kareem, when Kareem was with the Lakers, like D Wade, maybe. Um, I don't want to say either Durant or Curry was a Robin necessarily with the Golden State time there, but like
You could
other than
arguably
those,
say Steph was like the rob because yeah, they were both the 1A, but we all knew when
that was
Kevin
there.
Durant
I think
joined the
that was like
Warriors.
an anomaly of a time where like there
Yeah,
wasn't really a Rob. I think it was like two Batmans on that
yeah.
team,
But
but
like you could say when KD joined the Warriors, everybody knew Kevin Durant was their best player. Even after when Steph won unanimous league MVP,
I
it
think
was
more
like Kevin.
people would argue that with you than you think.
I think
I
Kevin.
won't I won't
Yeah,
argue it
yeah.
with you, but
KD was their
I
best
think
player.
more people would than you think. All right. Um, what if Durant gets one? Whether that's with his next team, is he cemented as the second best small forward of all time, passing up guys like Larry Bird or I mean I don't even some of the other best small forward like a Pippen. He's already passed, but
Yeah,
like
he's
does
past
he pass
Pippen.
like a Larry Bird if he gets another ring?
I would say no because of the different stops that he had to go to. Again, blowing a 3-1 lead against the Golden State Warriors, then joining that team that's gonna leave a mark on his legacy, and then haven't really sniffed the NBA Finals since leaving the Golden State Warriors. People are gonna remember that, So that'll be his third ring. But Larry Bird has 3 championships, 3 NBA MVPs as well. So
Yeah,
KD's only has one.
right.
2 Finals MVPs. Again, KD has 2 as well, but he
Mm,
will have to have another one. And so when you look at those 3 NBA championships and 3 regular season MVPs to KD's one, I don't think he surpasses Bird, and he'll still be behind Bird in my opinion, and still be behind LeBron. He'll be top 3 small forward of all time, but not over Braun or Bird.
okay. What about James Harden? Does
Oh,
he, for me at least, when you talk about the top four shooting guards, it goes, Jordan, Kobe, Wade, and then Harden. I don't know if that's how you have it. If it is, does he pass Wade for getting a ring, even though Wade does have three, but Harden is probably the better talent?
I would still put him behind Dwayne Wade. And here's why: because in Dwayne Wade's third year, he pretty much led the Miami Heat to a championship. Shaq
Yeah.
wasn't the same Shaq in the Lakers. He wasn't as dominant. And obviously, they had some good pieces. Gary Payton was pretty much on his last leg. He
Yeah.
was the guy. And so when you have I believe what Dwayne was like 24 at that time,
Yeah.
24, 25, something like that, because he stayed longer in college. He's a little bit older than Braun. So his third year in the league, leading a team to a championship, and when they were down 0-2, he single-handedly pretty much brought him back.
Mhm.
That you can't discredit that.
Yeah.
Again, he's the Miami's all-time leading points per game score.
Hmm.
Yeah, and again, he hasn't jumped shipped in terms of going different multiple teams and requested out the way James Harden did. Now again, he had stints in Chicago and Cleveland, but ultimately went back to Miami. But I think he'll still be behind Dwayne Wade. Again, what he
Hmm.
did in the '06 finals is top 5 final performances of all time. It's unbelievable.
What if you took away the '06 finals and just with the two finals Wade had with the LeBron years? I mean, Wade was still like a playoff magnet. He was still getting in the playoffs all the time. He was still a great player, but say he doesn't get that 2006 ring, what about then?
Who I think maybe then there'll be a serious discussion
Hmm.
because again, those other 2 championships he won with LeBron. Obviously,
Hmm.
LeBron was the head honcho, and
Right.
Dwayne Wade wasn't.
He was
He was
older-ish.
getting a little bit older. That '06 championship when he was unequivocally guy, and you look at that roster, that's a big part in his legacy, man.
Right,
That's a
yeah,
huge
I
part.
agree. I think if the '06 ring wasn't there, I think if Harden did win a ring, I think he might take that third, but the fact that he's got that ring by himself pretty much,
Mhm.
and even before the LeBron stuff, I think I would still have Wade over. But,
Mhm.
next we'll do we got the Golden State Warriors duo. Jimmy Butler, does it 100 I don't know. Do you have him making the Hall of Fame as of right now? And if you don't, does that 100% make him a Hall of Fame player? And then
I,
Curry, is
mm.
he a top 5 player ever with a fifth ring, probably a second Finals MVP, which is weird to say. And then is he 100% the best point guard ever?
Ooh.
So start with Butler.
Okay, well, Jimmy Butler, I would say I think he is a Hall of Famer because again, 6-time All Star. He
Mhm.
led the Heat to 2 NBA Finals. Last time they've been there was the LeBron, Wade, and Bosh era.
Right.
He's also, a 5-time All Defensive team and a 2016 Olympic gold medalist. So that resume right there. There's been a lot of players who have made the Hall of Fame who's had
With
less.
less. Okay.
So I think that would, and obviously him winning championship will make him, I think for sure. It wouldn't make him a first ballot, but it make him for sure Hall of Famer. Now, in terms of Steph Curry's accomplishments, fifth ring, one over LeBron.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think without it, he's a top 5, top 3 point guard of all. I think he's top 2 right now, point guard of all time.
Yeah,
Now
I think he's top 2 point guard, but does it make him a top 5 player, like, ever?
of all time. Ooh,
Because you gotta think, like, at least for me, my top 3 players of all time, it's there's Jordan and LeBron, and then I have Kareem third. Does he get like to a fourth or a fifth? Because I think he is a top 10 player of all time. But does
If he,
he get
if,
up to like? Does he pass some
yeah,
guys like Tim Duncan, maybe Shaq?
oh, that's tough. I think he'll definitely pass Shaq. Tim
Okay.
Duncan maybe because you know what I'm gonna say yes because also too along with his championships and his accolades,
Hmm.
he also changed. It was one of the reasons why the game has changed
Hmm.
forever. All these teens and all these, high school players and college players and new players coming into the league are shooting a whole bunch of threes, and because of Steph Curry, he has literally changed. You could say the game for the worse, but because everybody thinks they're like Steph, they
Hmm.
shooting half court threes, think it's gonna go in. So
Yeah.
because of his impact on the court, and again, him winning 5 championships in what like 10 years, 9 years,
Hmm.
yeah, two-time final MVP, and again, he's the league leader in not league leader, excuse me. He's the most has the most 3-point shots in NBA history, most 3-point makes. Also, to one of the only unanimous MVP winners in league history. All-Star Game MVP in 2024 and 2022. Last year, Clutch Player of the Year. Yeah, steal leader as well too in 2016, scoring champ. Yeah, I'd say that. Yeah, you're looking at, and again, he just added an Olympic gold medal to his resume. Yeah, that fifth championship and that second Finals MVP will do it for me. I'll say yeah.
All right. Yeah, I agree. But now let's do the big one, LeBron. If
Ooh.
he gets a fifth ring, is he finally the GOAT? Some people, I mean, I don't remember if you have him as the GOAT or not, but does that finally that's kind of a hard question because there's going to be people that won't care, and then there'll be some people that care like so much about it to that conversation. But does he finally? But that's really all he has left. I mean, he's top two of all time. Some people have him one, some people have him two. I think I have him too on the greatest of all time. I do think that he is the best player. Like I think he is like the perfect player and the best individual basketball player. But I think when you talk about greatness, I think I do have Jordan over him. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of how I view it. But does this finally make him the GOAT?
That Jordan LeBron go conversation, man. I think there's going to be a topic that's going to continue
Gonna
going
continue.
on. Yeah, no matter what. Obviously, you're gonna have people who are old heads and sticking with Jordan. People
Mhm,
in this generation is gonna go with LeBron.
mhm,
But I'm gonna have to say yes. I think so
oh,
because I think he's already obviously the GOAT because just I haven't seen Jordan. So
mhm,
different eras of growing up. But you talk about a guy, he's one a handful of guys who would have won championships with 3 different franchises.
mhm,
Jordan didn't do that. Obviously, his longevity plays into a fact. We've never seen somebody play this great this long for 22 years and counting. Gonna be 23, 4 regular season MVPs. He's been finals MVPs 4 different times. He's the all-time scoring leader, and what he just surpassed 50,000 points not too long ago, including regular season and postseason. On
mhm.
top of that, too, he's won the All-Star Game MVP a handful of times, 2 or 3 times, if I'm not correct. And he just won his second Olympic gold medal. No, third Olympic gold medal.
Mhm.
Yeah, man, you but that resume and add another ring and another Finals MVP. Yeah, because you could say, look, he just got 1 ring less than Jordan, but he's been to more NBA Finals than Jordan.
Mhm.
He's won it with 3 different franchises. He's passed Jordan up in damn near every statistical category. Not only that, he's also going to be finished top 5, arguably top 4, and most threes made because Reggie Miller is going down that list like crazy. A
It's
couple
so
years ago,
funny.
Reggie Miller was like number 1. Now he's like going to be number 6. LeBron is going to pass him soon.
Mhm,
Like it's crazy. So LeBron is literally going to finish top 5 in every statistical category
mhm.
known to man. It's insane. And you give him another championship and another Finals MVP along with other accolades. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
he
I
didn't say
do
anything.
I do think, even though, like I said, as it stands right now, without this fifth ring, even though I think I do still have Jordan as the go, it's like I don't understand the people that like, yeah, he made, he's lost. What is he 4-10 or is he 4-11?
4 and 10. Yeah.
4-10. Like why is losing the finals worse than not making it at all? Like, because right, like Jordan was 6-0, but like those other years, he wasn't even in the final. Like, I don't know. And I understand the fact of being undefeated in the
Uh,
finals is a crazy
four and
feat.
4 and 6. My bad, not 4-10. Four and
Or
six in the
yeah, that's
finals.
what I
Yeah.
meant. 4 out of 10. But
Mhm.
like that means 6 times he was the second best team in the league. Like, why is the second best such a bad thing? I don't know. Especially when it was for that long, and pretty much 9 of those were in a row.
Yeah.
It's again, there's so many different things that can factor into it, but the next two I'm gonna kind of group them together because I think they're in similar situations if they do. But Luca and Shea,
Ooh.
if either of them win one, how many more can they get? And kind of what does it just I guess we'll just start with that. How many more could they get for Shea or Luca? Again, I think they were drafted in the same year. They're kind of similar within like they both average 30 pretty much with ease. Luca does a little bit more, rebounding and playmaking for sure. But I think they're the same tier of player pretty much, like overall, not necessarily this year because Luca hasn't had the greatest year, but Shea and Luca, what do we think? How many more could they get if they win one?
I think Shea could get maybe two before he calls it quits.
Mm-hmm.
So he'll have two before he retires. Luca would probably I can see him getting two as well.
Mm-hmm.
If Shea were to win one, maybe arguably they have a great chance of winning one this year. Top 10. Well, actually, a top five. Top five. Maybe he'll be top two best player going into next year because it'll be what 26, 27 with the championship, and arguably we're gonna think that he's gonna win regular season MVP this year.
Mm-hmm.
So he'll be on a handful of lists of guys under the age of 28 to win an MVP and championship, and it's probably gonna be favored to win Finals MVP as well too. So that's gonna be a pristine list. If Luca wins one, same. I will rate Luca will probably again top two best players, already top three, but it's gonna be him battling with Shane Jokic along with Giannis. But and he'll stick it to the Dallas Mavericks too for trade him. It's like, look, I got one before you
Yeah.
guys, but yeah. So I think but now are we talking just next year or all time? If Shea was to win one next year of all time, he'll still have some work to do, but for his position as a point guard, I'll think he'll be that again, that's presuming if he wins MVP. If he doesn't win MVP, top 25. He has to win MVP to move him up because adding that MVP and championship really does do a lot to your resume. He'll be top 25 point guards of all time. I know top 20 point guards of all time. Then he'll be probably top 10 if he wins MVP and championship. For
I think
Luca,
you said the same for Luca.
yeah, same thing for Luca too, because Luca has surprisingly has yet to win a league MVP as good as
Yeah.
he is. So yeah,
Um, let's do all right. Jokic, is he a top 10
oh,
player? Is he a top 10 player ever? Because he will have three. Well, he has three MVPs. If he does win this year, it'll be four, and it will be his second ring and finals MVP with Denver.
easily. Yeah, the
Yeah.
the fucking numbers that Jokic is putting up is insane. He's been averaging a triple double. Not
Mhm.
too long, he had a 30, 10, and 10 game. He had like a 40, 20, and I believe 40, 20, 20 game not too long ago as well. Right?
30,
Was it for
20,
a
20.
30,
Yeah.
20, 20? And he had 30, 10, and 10. This guy is literally putting up video game numbers. Again, you could give it to either or this year, to Shea or Jokic. I think they're gonna lean more towards to Shea, but
Hmm.
my God, another ring for Jokic, and along with his numbers and three, MVPs, three in what like 4 or 5 years. Yeah, easily. I think he's already in that right now. But if he wins
Yeah.
another championship, that solidifies that.
It's just so hard for me to because him as a top whatever center, like he's so different than every other top center in the like Shaq, Hakeem, Kareem, Wilt, Bill Russell, like all these guys, like they all play pretty similar as they're these big traditional big body centers that just dominated their time. but Jokic dominated his time, but it's in such a different way that it's so hard to gauge, like, because they're completely different eras and different types of
Mhm.
players, even though they play the same position. So it's so hard for me to determine like him versus like Hakeem or like
Yeah,
even now, even like if we're not talking about this extra ring.
yeah, it's Jokic, something special, man, something special.
It
Mm.
is. All right, I've got five left. That's it. We'll kind of crank through these. What if Tatum wins another? Does he me as a Celtic fan, I already prefer him over guys like Paul Pierce, but does it make him and Jalen Brown as a top 3 Celtic duo if they win a second one?
Yeah, yeah,
Like
because
you think about those duos. I'm gonna just give people examples. So like Kuzi and Bill Russell, even though again these are a long time ago, but like you can't ignore what they did. Bird and McHale, and then kind of that. I was talking to my dad about this. The third one could maybe be like the guys in the '70s, where it's like Havlicek and like Dave Cohen's or something. But they won two as well, so I think like if they win, especially if it's this year that they win, they get the first back to back ring since the Warriors. I mean, does that make them a top 3 Celtic duo?
yeah,
Mhm.
because again, first of all, we look at Jason Tate. This man's played in 5 conference finals in his career. He's been in NBA for what, 7, 8 years, and he's
7, yeah.
only 26, 27. So
Yep.
now let's just say they win it this year. First time in a long time since the Celtics have repeated.
Mhm.
Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, and Kevin Garnett, and even Rajon Rondo, that for some Fantastic Four, haven't done that. They're still stuck in riding the waves of that 2008 championship ring. But first time in a while since the Celtics would do that. And now you have Jason Tatum adding to his legacy. Would have
Mhm.
been a 2-time champion, and let's just say he wins Finals MVP, his first Finals MVP, along with being a conference Finals MVP and an All Star Game MVP.
Mhm.
Yeah. And Jalen Brown already has a finals MVP as well. Yeah. Why not? I'm saying if they win it this year back to back, oh yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I
I've
agree. Yeah.
I've had this debate with my dad. Do we think like, and this is all kind of off topic, but um if you take that '08, right, like like Rondo, Allen, Pierce, Garnett, and it was like Kendrick Perkins, and then you take the this year, right, Drew, Derek White, Brown, Tatum, and Porzingis, who wins a 7-game series out of that?
Oh,
Again, the eras obviously are a
Harris,
little
yeah.
different, but I mean, let's be honest. Ray Allen, one of the greatest 3-point shooters of all time. Paul Pierce was a great scorer too.
Yeah. Paul
Kevin
Pierce is
Garnett,
that
one of the
man.
best defenders of all time. Rondo, one of the best defensive point guards of all time too. Triple double guy. Obviously, Perkins doesn't match up with Porzingis, but you know,
Yeah.
what do we
If we
think
if
about
we
that?
look in that matchup, okay, who's gonna guard Ray Allen? Because Ray Allen's gonna tire out running,
I think
those
that's like a
things.
Derek White thing.
Yeah. And then you'll have to put you're probably gonna put, Brown or Tatum on Pierce.
Hmm.
I think Tatum and Pierce, talk about prime Paul Pierce in '08, kind of cancel each other out.
Yeah, a
Because
little
people are
bit.
disrespecting Tatum. Tatum is he's a top 5 player. So I think Tatum and
Hmm.
Pierce will cancel each other out. Brown,
You kind of don't really have to worry too much
yeah,
about Rondo on offense, but
yeah,
the thing I'm going to give them with even though Perkins is not anything crazy, Perkins and Garnett down low, Porzingis doesn't want to bang down low with
no,
a vicious Garnett.
yeah.
And I
And
mean,
Garnett
other
spreads
than
the
that,
spreads the
we
floor
got like
too.
a 38-year-old Al Horford or Luke Cornett. Like,
I'm gonna go with the '08 Celtics because again, I'm just thinking of matchup wise, like you mentioned, Rajon Rondo. Even though he's not gonna score a lot of points, he sets everybody up. And at one
yeah,
point in
he's
time,
so
he was considered, maybe a top the best point guard because of how he was able to
yeah,
get people open. His
so
assists
good.
were crazy. So you like, okay, can Drew Holiday handle with that? They're like, because Rondo's not gonna look to
I
score.
think Rondo's more of a pest than what Drew Holiday or Derek
Yeah,
White is. I think Rondo's more annoying because he's also smaller, a little skinnier, he's quicker, and he's just a
Rondo got
just a
some stout
blob.
to him too. Rondo's a pretty strong dude
No,
for his
he is,
size.
but I'm saying he's just a little bit shorter and he's
Mhm.
faster too.
Yeah.
So,
But
you
like I
know,
say, if you put Holiday on Rondo, like isolate him, it's like okay, but he's not there to score.
neither
So
of them
pretty
are
much you're
scoring
gonna
on each other.
yeah. So you're gonna have to really then you'll have to put Holiday on either Port Pierce, switch him off, or Allen. But then the biggest mismatch is gonna be KG
Right.
because Porzingis is not gonna be able to stick with him.
No.
Let's just be honest. Al Horford not gonna be able to handle that man. So then you're like, okay, who do you put on KG? KG's gonna be literally it's crazy to say this, but KG's gonna be the X factor because he's gonna be a mismatch nightmare. He can stretch you out, he could post you up. Yeah, so I'm just for that reason, I'm gonna have to go with the '08 Celtics. Yeah.
Yeah, I do love the idea of Porzingis forcing Perkins out on the
Sure,
3-point
yeah.
line.
Mm-hmm.
That he ain't gonna do nothing out there. But
No flex.
all right, that was a little tangent. We'll go. Brunson, is he the greatest Nick of all time?
Oh, damn. When has the last time the Knicks won a title?
The
Shit.
70s, like Willis Reed times. See, because I think right. Yeah, I mean you're the New York guy, so you tell me. I think Patrick Ewing's the greatest Nick of all time as of currently, but Patrick Ewing hasn't won. He was close. Reggie Miller was a pain in the ass for him, but if Brunson the greatest Nick if he gets New York gets New York one.
I'm gonna have to say yeah, and you know why I'm
Hey,
saying that? Because
why?
also too, remember that massive contract. That wasn't a massive contract. Remember that massive contract that he chose not to
Yeah.
sign. It was he only signed like what a 4-year, 100 million or 5-year, $100-some million extension when he could have signed for 250. And he
Yeah,
took $100 million less so that the
yeah,
team can build a championship. And New York fans, they love and appreciate when you sacrifice for that city. They're gonna have your back till the wheels fall off, and even
right.
after the wheels fall off. And
Mhm.
Brunson is beloved in New York. I don't think that man pays for a meal in any restaurant he goes to with
Yeah,
the Knicks. I'm in New York. I'm so serious. If he's able to win a championship for the city of New York, I think that this city will burn down. I'm not even joking. They're gonna have to close down Penn Station. They're gonna have to close down, a Madison Square Garden for probably like a week or two. It's gonna be
yeah.
you think Eagles
That
fans when how
parade,
they look? Oh Lord,
that
oh
parade.
it's crazy. But I would say yeah, I
Yeah,
think
I
so.
would
Yeah.
too. Even though it's crazy because it's like his fourth year, maybe third year. But I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Um, we got Giannis. Is Giannis a top 15 player ever? And does he
Ooh.
100% take over as the greatest buck of all time over a guy like Kareem?
I'm going to say, wow, that's tough. I'm going to say yes
Okay.
because if we talk about the greatest buck, second championship, second finals MVP, and he enforced his way out of Milwaukee, like
No.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar did, as also known as Al Cinder. But
Mhm.
yeah, yeah,
Two-time
I would say so.
MVP,
Two-time
one-time
MVP,
defensive
yeah,
player of the
yeah,
year.
yeah. Some people already think he's the greatest buck right now.
Yeah, but that I said I'm at 100%. Like, is it
Oh
like
yeah,
no
yeah,
debate?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, and top 15 player ever? Close.
Yeah,
I think if I think he's already like top 30 all
yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah,
He gets another one, he's like at least top 20, no lower.
yeah. I agree.
Um, Dame, same a similar conversation with Kyrie, but what does it put him as a top whatever point guard of all time? If Dame finally gets that one that he was been wanting for so long, he stuck around in Portland, was so loyal to them, and they overcame some hard things in Milwaukee, and Dame gets one too.
I think Damian Lillard will. Let me see. Steph, Magic, Stockton, Paul, Big O.
Like
I
Jason
can't put him above
Kidd,
Jason Kidd. I don't.
Steve
Man,
Nash.
I'll put him above Steve Nash, despite Nash having 2 league MVPs. But again, that resume, I wouldn't
Mhm.
put him over Isaiah Thomas though. I don't know. I think he.
So like top 8.
Top 8, yeah, maybe top 10. He'll put him maybe like number 10,
All
but
right.
I'm thinking I can't put him over Isaiah Thomas with just one ring, excuse me. I still can't put him over Stockton because Stockton has accomplished more. I also can't put him over Magic or Chris Paul or Steph or not even Jay Kidd, but
Mhm.
you put him over Russ. Russ doesn't have one. Do you think he'll be over Kyrie with the championship? Because they'll both be tied at 1-1. No? Okay.
He's a good. But yeah, because Dame's not winning that Finals MVP.
True. True. Well, neither did Kyrie though,
But
well,
that's what I'm saying.
it'll
Like, if
be
Dame
what
did,
yeah,
then I think
but
he may probably.
it'll have to show what impact would he have had. Like, would he have hit a key game winning shot like Kyrie Irving did?
I still I don't know, because again, if we're saying Dame's winning a ring, then Kyrie's probably not winning a second one. So it's
Yeah.
like the Dame's one ring versus Kyrie's one ring. You kind of see what, like, the 3-1 Kyrie ring, or just like his first ring in, or Dame's first ring in Milwaukee, where he wasn't Finals MVP either, but Kyrie's is one of the most meaningful,
Mhm.
you know, that there is.
Let me ask you a question. Do you put him above Tony Parker then if he wins the championship?
Um, pro- Damn, probably. Even though Tony Parker's resume probably looks a little bit better, just because there's multiple rings. I think, was Tony Parker a Finals? Tony Parker won a Finals MVP, I think.
I believe he. Let me check. I'm gonna have to fact check
But
this.
I think if you look at it, even as a player, like, Dame's a top 5 shooter of all time.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
I
NBA
think
Finals
so.
MVP in '07. Yep.
Yeah, I think I would, just because I think, I don't know. Tony Parker doesn't get the, it's showing right now, but Tony Parker doesn't, I don't think, get the love that he does, because he was on such a crazy good team too, and he won so much. But I think Dame would be over him with a ring.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that. Just wanted to ask because yeah, I'm thinking
All right.
Parker definitely like top 20 ish. You think point guards of
Top
all time?
15, I would
Top
say.
15.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Last one. This might be the most disrespectful one. If Embiid wins a ring, does anything change?
Damn. Oh shit. B just called a straight.
Like, obviously it does, because he's
Yeah,
gonna wait
yeah.
out the second round, but like,
I mean,
we've seen,
realistically, if you ask me, I don't see him winning one. But if he does win one, if he's able to stay healthy,
hmm,
it changed the narrative. But maybe top 25 centers of all time,
yeah, like,
maybe yeah.
I don't know.
Because his
That's what I mean. This is what I
yeah,
mean, though. Like, when I was coming up with these questions, a lot of them were things that I agreed on, but a lot of them were also like the hard conversation too. And it's like, obviously something changes, because then he's 100% like Hall of, like, I really don't think, even with his MVP, that he's 100% a Hall of Fame player as of
really.
now.
Oh
Yeah, no,
damn.
I really,
Yeah.
I don't, because he's missed, like, he's like 50-50 on games played. Sure, he
Mhm.
has an MVP, but he doesn't, I mean, and a gold medal now, I guess, even though he didn't really do too much, but still, like, Derrick Rose might not make the Hall of Fame. He won an MVP,
Mhm.
but I don't think just because you have an MVP should make you a Hall of Fame player.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
like, I think if Luca won that MVP, like the year that Embiid won, like, I think Luca would be, because Luca has the overseas career, right? Too. And it's the
Mhm.
basketball Hall of Fame. It's not the NBA Hall of Fame. And Embiid just doesn't have that, especially missing his first 2 seasons completely with injury, and obviously all the BS that he goes through right now.
Mhm.
So,
And I think
but I think with
he
the
didn't play
ring,
that
he
much
would
at Kansas
100%.
either.
What'd you say?
And I don't think he played that much at Kansas either when he was there.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we can look, but um he college stats. He played 28 games,
Oh, okay,
so
okay. So I was
he
wrong.
pretty much played
Yeah.
the whole thing. But yeah, I don't know. Those were our top, just what a ring would do to players' legacies. I think it was some good conversation, some hard ones,
Yeah.
especially with some of those older guys, too. But now we'll really get into the main purpose of this video. An hour and 20 minutes in.
Oh,
Uh,
sheesh. Yeah.
top 10 centers. We'll start at 10. That's not right. Hold on. My 10th best center this year is, sorry, I'm fixing something. Um I have is Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert obviously is not what he's been. He also doesn't get a lot of love, but I mean 11 points, 10 rebounds, 2 assists. He has averaging only 1.4 blocks, which is, it's pretty much 2 years ago he averaged 1.4 as well, but he's averaged 2 blocks or more since his second year in the league. He's still a good defender. Obviously not the same. Minnesota's going through their struggles, so I don't have too much to say on Rudy because again he has dropped off performance wise, but Gobert is my number 10.
All right. For me, I'm gonna have to go with Jared Allen from the Cleveland Cavaliers. He's my number 10.
Ooh.
Yeah, I like Jared Allen. Again, this guy's getting you 13 points a game, almost 14 points a game, 10 rebounds, shooting damn near almost 71% from the field, which is crazy. Had what
Mhm.
25 points and 12 rebounds against the Clippers, which they won, and is a big reason why the Cleveland Cavaliers have the best record in the Eastern Conference right now. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Jared Allen, start off the list at number
Wow, I'm
10.
surprised he's not a little bit higher just because of the Cleveland success too.
Yeah, I got somebody else on Cleveland. That's a little bit,
Okay.
well, yeah, but again, they swift flip flop position, but yeah.
Okay. All right. Ninth. Um, should be getting this stuff ready. Sorry, I have
Oh, for
Nikola
sure.
Vucevic. Vucevic, almost 19 points, 10 rebounds, 40% from three. Again, he's on a lackluster Bulls team that, again, if we're being real, he shouldn't be on this Bulls team. And as of right
Mhm.
now, the Bulls are losing by almost 45 points to the Thunder as we speak. But
Sheesh.
he's had a really good season. He actually had some All-Star buzz going into the All-Star break this year just because of how great he had been, um, especially from last year where he only averaged 29% from three, and now he's back up to 40%. So he's been pretty good. Again, the Bulls are just they're a mess over there, but Vucevic, I think he could. I would have loved to see him get moved to like a Golden State or like a maybe even back to Orlando because they need some floor spacing over there. But um Vucevic he's my ninth.
Okay, okay, I like that. For me, number 9, I'm gonna have to go. I was going kind of back and forth with this list, but I'm
Mhm.
gonna have to go with Rudy Gobert with you. Again, now he's not a better player than Jared Allen, but he has shown some bright spots, especially this year with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Again, I've been all over Rudy Gobert that he is a liability on the defensive end come the playoffs. But recently
Mhm.
19 points, 17, 16. He is a double machine. He's averaging 11 points and 11 rebounds as well too. Almost 66% from the field. So Rudy Gobert again, regular season, he's a monster. Only knock against him is that when it comes to playoff time, he's a defensive liability, but he's always
Yeah.
available when you need him, and he's played 65 games so far out of the almost 82 games that we're approaching. So he's always there when you
Mhm.
need him. So yeah, I got Rudy Gobert as number 9 for me.
All right, go to your eighth.
Whew. All right, number 8. Again, I was fighting with this list, but I'm gonna have to go with Bam. Bam Adebayo of the Miami Heat. Usually I would have put Bam
Mhm.
higher, but because again,
Yeah.
he 17, look at his numbers, almost 18 points a game, 9.7 rebounds. Usually I would have put Bam higher, but this was considered a down year for him. He didn't make the All-Star this year, so that was just a knock. but he's played 72 games this year, I believe, right? So he's always available. Yeah, he's played 72 games, excuse me, this
Hmm.
year.
Yeah.
And yeah, last game 28, 16, 12. So he's been just inconsistent, but again, he's still, in his prime, 27 years old. So I got Bam at 8 for me.
Yeah, and I think if you were talking about like past years, this would be more of a, like a thing that I think we would debate, but he really hasn't had the greatest year this year, for being honest.
Mhm.
Even Miami in general hasn't been going through the greatest of things over there, but I think we all expected after the Olympics to kind of see maybe a jump shot increase for him and an offensive load pick up a little. And
Mhm.
I'm sure he's probably similar numbers to what he's been doing, but normally he's been like an all-star lock pretty much. But he didn't make the all-star team this year, I don't think
No.
so.
Yeah, no, he didn't. Surprisingly.
But my eighth is Miles Turner. Miles Turner, he's 15 points, only 6 rebounds, which I don't really like from my center. But he's also shooting 40% from three, and he's also got the defense, almost 2 blocks a game, a steal a game almost. And he's literally like the perfect center to put on your team. Again, he's been up and down. He had a season in 21 where he averaged 3.5 blocks. He averaged 3.5 blocks and somehow was ninth in defensive player of the year voting. But he's
That's
never been
crazy. What the fuck?
yeah, he's never been the super consistent scorer that you would maybe want. But I mean, he can hit 6 threes in a game. He can drop a 30 bomb with how he can stretch the floor, and he's still a decent defender to me. Even though his numbers have dropped off over the years, but he's really a like the ideal center, especially for today's time. Which is why I have him over someone like Vucevic, who they're shooting like the same from three, but Turner's points are a little bit more down, but he gives me more on defense than what like a Vucevic does. So, um, my seventh, I have Bam too. I had him higher originally, when I was doing this, but then I decided to switch some things around because I think, like I said, he hasn't had the greatest season. I think we all expected a jump, like I said, and I think some of these guys have just been playing more meaningful basketball than what he has. But again, it's pretty similar things to what you said. So he's my 7.
Mhm. All right. Well, this be my 6th, right? Or 7th as well.
This will be your 7th.
Nice.
Pause.
Yeah, for me, my 7th, I'm gonna have to go with Miles Turner. Again, I wish his rebounding was up a little bit. Getting 6.5 rebounds a game is not gonna cut it for a guy who's 6'10",
Yeah.
6'11". But I do like that. He's a pace and space big. He can knock down some threes. A little bit also pretty efficient too. There's some games when he's been streaky, but you talk about against the Nets, he was 8-11, 8 of 14, 6 of 9, 5 of 7. So he does take quality shots. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go Miles Turner as my 7th.
Okay. All right. My 6th is a guy that normally would not be this high if there weren't injuries, but I've got Zubac this at 6. Zubac is averaging 16.5 points, 12.5 rebounds. He's shooting 62% from the field. He hasn't taken a three at all this year, which he never does, but it's just pretty funny to see that. But the Clippers have been a huge success this season, especially with the story of losing Paul George, and Kawhi hasn't been available as we would like, even though Kawhi recently has been really good for them. But Zubac has I mean, he's jumped up. He probably could have, if we're being honest, most improved buzz. He jumped almost 5 points, 3 rebounds. His defense is pretty much the same, like numbers wise, but um, he's just been like he's been like the ideal center you want around a guy like James Harden, who'll set you some screens. He'll roll hard to the basket, and he's had some like 22 rebound, like 30-point games and stuff like that too. So he's been much improved, and I think again, like a perfect guy to put alongside Harden.
I like that. I like that. For me, I'm gonna go with the guy you mentioned not too long ago, Nikola Vucevic from the Chicago Bulls. Again, he's averaging almost 19 points a game, 10 rebounds, top 15 in rebounds as well too, and he's 18th, top 20, 18th in field goal percentage. 54% from the field. He's a pace and space big, can knock down some shots. Even though he is getting a little bit up there in age, he's still a quality
Mhm.
big. Going to see what the Bulls do with them in the future. But yeah, definitely has had an impressive year so far with the Bills. With the
So
Bulls.
like what makes you put him above like a Jared Allen?
Because he's more skilled than Jared Allen, in my opinion. Jared
Okay.
Allen is strictly there for like defense, blocking shots. But if you ask Jared Allen to post up, compared to how Vucevic posts up, he has a better post up game. He can shoot better.
Okay.
He could dribble. So that's just the difference.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um Fifth, I have we were just talking about Jared Allen. Jared Allen has had again, like you've talked about earlier, him and Mobley, they share that center position because if we're being real, Mobley is a center. He just
Mhm.
plays with a guy like Jared Allen, so he doesn't play it as much as he should. But 14 points, 10 rebounds. Again, if a guy like Mobley wasn't there, he would probably be like 13, 14 rebounds a game. But I mean, he's just it's just everything Cleveland is doing with their untraditional like lineup of two small guards and two big centers. Like he's just like it just works perfectly. And again, his numbers aren't, as good as like a Zubac or a Vucevic, but I think just it's also the meaning that he has to that, just the meaning he has to that team is what, puts it above. And like you said, almost 71% from the field. He's played 75 games this year so far. So he's always available. And again, even though they do prioritize a guy like Evan Mobley in late game situations, because they always kind of pick one to end a game. Like he never has issues with it. Like he's just like he's just this reliable guy to have, and he's not making a lot of money either for what like he contributes. So he's why I have him at fifth.
Okay. Oh, now we get into the top five. This is gonna get interesting. I'm gonna have to go with for me. I'm gonna have to go with Alperen Şengün of the Houston Rockets. Again, taking a big jump. It's kind of surprising who I have over him, but Alperen Şengün, man, again, just so young, so much potential. Um,
Hmm.
Houston right now, I can't believe they're second in the freaking Western Conference, which is
Yeah,
incredible to think about.
they're
But
thriving.
yeah, man, they are thriving against Şengün, almost 20 points a game. Um, almost 11 rebounds, 10 and a half rebounds. He's top 40 in, field goal percentage. 22 young. Now next year he'll be higher on my list, but because I have him, number 5, probably gonna have him higher because of his youth. But youth is on his side, so yeah, I got to go with Alperen Şengün, and that he's been a big part of the resurgence of the Houston Rockets. So yeah, that's what I got.
Okay. Yeah. Uh, Perfect because I have him at fourth. So again, he's not a prototypical center. He's like the baby Jokic, sort of in a way because his flashy assist and his playmaking ability. He's not my favorite type of center, but again, he did make his first All Star appearance, and he is the best player in Houston this year. Um, but even though he's not my prototypical and most favored type of center, I mean, I can't deny what he has been doing and what he does to that team, especially when he like Steven Adams plays for them. They've got even like Jock Landale, but like the center rotation isn't as pretty as you would want it for a team that's a top two. And I guess it doesn't matter too much because you have like Jabari Smith who can easily play the 5, or like Tari Eason can play some small ball 5 too at times. But
Mhm.
um Yeah, he's my fourth best center. And again, if there weren't so many injuries to the center
Yeah.
position this year, he wouldn't be probably in my top five. But with the way he's been, with the way Houston's been rolling and his contribution, it's just something you can't ignore.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. All right, for me, I'm gonna have to go with Ivic Zubac from the Los Angeles Clippers. Again, you mentioned him not too long ago having a resurgence year. He's top 5 in rebounds, almost
Yeah.
13 rebounds a game, almost 17 points a game, 62% from the field, top 5 in field goal percentage. This man just had a 20 rebound game against the Orlando
Mhm.
Magic that just wrapped up 18 and 20. Stu's just a monster, man. Just an absolute beast. He's literally been one of the reasons why the Clippers have been kept afloat with Kawhi
Mm.
Leonard's absence. You look at his recent games, as I mentioned, 18-20 against the Orlando Magic today, 14-13, 21-12, 18-10. He has not had a game under 10 rebounds since March 14th. Other than that, he's had over 10 rebounds a game. That's a prototypical center. Get you boards, get you points, efficient on the offense, and block shots. So, yeah,
I think
okay.
center is the only position where stuff like this happens, where you got a
Mhm.
Zubac over like a Bam out of like a
Yeah.
guy who's like a certified all-star almost, or like a
Mhm.
thing. But I mean, again, the center, it's such a specific type of thing, unless you are like the top of the top, that your contribution will put you over guys that might be more skilled. So,
Yeah.
um, third, um, um, yeah, so Sabonis is my third. 19 points, 14 rebounds, 6 assists. Um, he's shooting 40% from three. Now, granted, he's taking a little less than 2.5 per game, but 40% from three, 58% from the field. And again, the Kings have kind of had a rough year. Firing of Mike Brown. They lost De'Aaron at the trade deadline, and they're kind of running a weird lineup with having DeRozan and Levine, who are sort of somewhat similar, high scores, and just kind of they're not a great defensive team. Um, that's really the only knock I would have on Sabonis. But I mean, he's been snubbed from the All-Star team. I don't know how many years in a row. He's
Mhm.
probably going to be All NBA. At least he's going to make an All NBA team this year. There's no way he doesn't. Which he's going to be one of those guys to have a season where he's not an All-Star, but he'll make All NBA. Although he does need to play 3 more games, so maybe not. Maybe he won't make it, but
Mhm.
he's been a relatively healthy guy, I think. So he's my third.
Yeah, I agree. It seemed like we have pretty similar lists. I got him also as my third as well too. Again, almost 19 points. He's leading the league in rebounds. I don't know if I have him power forward, but he plays power forward / center position. And again, looking at the guys who are healthy, 62 games, only need to play 4 more. Now, if we had most of the centers who are actually playing and healthy, like an Embiid, like a Wembanyama, this list will look very, very different. But based on the health of this year, Sabonis is definitely that dude. And talk about again, I heard he's one of the strongest guys, if not the strongest
Yeah.
guy in the NBA. Him along with Steven Adams. So yeah, I got Sabonis as number 3 as well.
Yeah, I think next year whenever we do this again, we just do it. We got to do it either right before the season starts, so we can do it with like everybody and injuries don't matter, and then we have a whole completely healthy slate of guys and no one out for injuries, or we just gotta just do it at a part in the season where hopefully mostly everyone's not hurt. But
Yeah.
um, I think our list is a little. I think our list is a little different because you might have had this next guy I have classified as a power forward, and same for my guy. But my second guy is Cat. Um, I think you classified him as a power forward in our video. Maybe you didn't. Maybe
Mhm.
I'm misremembering. But
Yeah, I think I put him as a
Cat.
power forward.
I've been super critical of Cat this year. I've made videos on it on my own. I've talked about it here about defense and stuff, but this has been Cat's best year of his career. I think 24 points, almost 13 rebounds, 42.5% from three, on 5 attempts, 52% from the field, and the Knicks were rolling for a while. Again, the Knicks are probably going to finish at that third seed. They've had some struggles with the top dogs in the league this year, whether it's like OKC or Boston or Cleveland. I think they're like 0-7 versus all those teams combined this year. But again, Cat's another guy. Like the defense is just it's a thing I worry about with him in the Knicks, with him being pretty much the lone center and him playing as much as Thibodeau does have them playing. But again, he's such a unique center. You don't bring in a Cat because you know he's going to raise your defensive ceiling. You do it to make one of the most unstoppable offenses that you have, or that the league has. So that's why he's my second.
Yeah, no, I agree. For me, I don't know if I believe I must have had him at power forward, but he also does play center as well too for the Cleveland Cavaliers. As I just mentioned, I had Jared Allen. Now I got Evan Mobley. It's weird that they're playing literally a two twin tower lineup, but Evan Mobley again, almost 19 points this season, almost 10 rebounds, shooting 56% from the field. Just had a 22-4-7 game against the Clippers, which they won. Resurge. We talk about a guy who's taking the next level this year in Evan Mobley. He was the first-time All-Star for the Cleveland Cavaliers, and he's a big reason why Cleveland won 60 games the first time since LeBron James and Shaq were teammates for the Cleveland Cavaliers back, and I believe it was the 09-010 season, something like that. So yeah. So yeah, that's why I got. And I think we all know. Yeah.
I mean, Jokic is having. I mean, we've talked about the MVP race so many times in the past few episodes, and I think I said it when we were talking about it last week, but I would really look into doing the dual MVP thing. I know it's never been done for the MVP. It's happened for like the All-Star game, or like I think it happened with Rookie of the Year. I think Jason Kidd, and I think it happened with Rookie of the Year at least once, I believe. But I would legitimately look into it because again, Jokic is, I believe, if you look at totals, he's top 5 in points, rebounds, assists, and steals.
That's crazy.
But Shea is also, like 33 points a game on the best team in the league by far, to me at least. Jokic 41% from 3 on he's taking almost 5 attempts too, almost a 30-point triple-double as an average. He has never actually averaged a triple-double in his career before. Which is kind of crazy to say, but he's going to get it this year most likely. I mean, 10.2 assists. He just can't have any stinkers, but I mean, he's the best player. He's the best player in the league. If he does win this MVP, 4 in 5 years is crazy. He pretty much just did what LeBron did with MVPs. LeBron won 2, then D Rose won the 1 that some people didn't agree with at the time. In this case, it's Embiid, which some people didn't agree with at the time, and then Jokic won the other 2. But if that happens, then I mean, we talked about it earlier. He's a top 10 player of all time, even if he doesn't win a ring, honestly, because 4 MVPs you're not just doing. And it's so funny that Jokic, the 1 year he won the ring, was the 1 year he didn't get MVP. It was that Embiid year. But yeah, I don't know if you have anything much to say about Jokic, but
yeah, oh man, Jokic is he's like a unicorn, man. I've never seen anything like this. He could barely jump over a textbook, but he'll give you a triple double. It's insane. He'll give you 30, 20, and 20 on any given night. Yeah. I wouldn't be mad if he wins MVP. Like I said, I think they're leaning more towards Shea because people sometimes they're gonna at one point in time they're gonna have Jokic fatigue, just how they had LeBron fatigue. But man, Jokic is something crazy. Never seen anything like this.
All right, and we'll end the episode off like how we end off every episode. We'll give you your team game. For anyone who doesn't know, I give Worlds a minute. I give him a random team that he doesn't know of beforehand, and he's just got to rattle off as many players as he wants. He's been doing pretty good. I wonder what team is going to stump him. I don't think you haven't had below 10 for any of the 6 teams we've done yet. We'll see if this team is the team to make you do it. So
please make it a known team. Please pick a known team.
We got Orlando. Orlando's had some injuries this year, but they have a similar rotation of guys that they've had the past couple of years. But you ready?
Not too bad. Yeah, I think I should. I should get this. I'm not stressed.
All right, we'll 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, obviously the best player, Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner, Jalen Suggs. That guy, I forgot his name. Goga Beatis, I forgot. Yeah. Mac McClung, I think he's signed to G League, but yeah, I think he's on their roster. Obviously the other Wagner, Mortz Wagner, Cole Anthony, Anthony Black. How could I forget him and Grady Dick took a picture together. Jonathan Isaac, you got Wendell Carter Jr., KCP, Contavious Caldwell Pope, excuse me. I think Gary Harris is still on that team. Corey Joseph. I believe Caleb Johnson is on that team too. They have had a lot of injuries. And I think that's it. That's all I can remember. 10
seconds.
Yeah, I said Corey Joseph, KCP. I think that's it.
All right, we'll end it. So before I check, you got 1, 2, 14. It's your lucky number.
Oh,
Caleb. I don't. Caleb John. You might maybe meant Caleb Houston. There's no Caleb Johnson.
I said Caleb. I don't know. Did I say Caleb Johnson?
There's Corey Joseph. I mean, the really only one that really missed was Tristan Da Silva, their rookie.
Oh, that's shit. Okay, I forgot about him.
And yeah, I mean, Mac McClung, you got. I mean, that's pretty known, the dunk contest, obviously. But you got 13. Obviously, you messed up the Caleb Houston one, but 13 is still pretty good.
Let's go.
But yeah, that's all we got, and we finished our player rankings. Obviously, we went through all 5 positions. Again, some of the positions were a little skewed throughout this. Some of us had, he maybe had someone at power forward. I had at center, same all the way. But again,
and also injuries too. Yeah.
Right, injuries. We saw a lot of late time injuries and bigger injuries to our star players this year, which is why some people didn't make the cut. Which is why I said the next time we do this, maybe during the off season or something when everyone's healthy. But yeah, it was good.
Yeah. I like it. All right. And that is it for another episode of Hoops All In. If you guys are new, don't forget to check us out on our social media, Hoops All In on Instagram, TikTok, and X. Also, don't forget to follow us and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Hoops All In. Also, listen to our, audio version on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, or wherever you stream your weekly or daily podcast. Also, don't forget to check out Keith's Hoops All In podcast page on YouTube at Keith HAI. Again, he does great work over there. For Wells Francois, Keith Bazin signing off. We'll be back here next time for another episode of Hoops All In. Catch you guys later, and playoffs is right around the corner.